Here's my recap and review of Dexter Season 1, Episode 10, entitled Seeing Red. In this episode, Dexter and the Ice Truck Killer have a date. Batista has a major breakthrough in the Ice Truck Killer case, and Deborah gets mad at Dexter, as always. Let's get this recap and review started. All right, so we're getting down to the line here. We've got 2 episodes after this one. In this episode, it starts with a big bloody crime scene in a hotel room. And Dexter ends up getting there and ends up passing out on the scene. He starts having some repressed memories of being a child, and it makes him queasy. He has to go out, and he can't go back into the room. Dexter goes home later that night, and guess who shows up at his door? The Ice Truck Killer with a couple of porterhouse steaks and a 6-pack of beer, and wants to talk to Dexter about his sister, Deborah. Dexter ends up opening up to the Ice Truck Killer, and they end up getting pretty close that evening and share some secrets, and Dexter even talks about repressed memories with him and a few other things. This really sets Deborah off because Deborah feels like she's the one that should be getting close to him, not her boyfriend, who is the Ice Truck Killer. She feels like she's earned it for growing up with Dexter this whole time. While the Ice Truck Killer is over at Dexter's, Deborah does call, and he says he can't go meet her that night because he's busy. And this also upsets her because she finds out that he was there talking to Dexter. So she's mad at both Dexter and the Ice Truck Killer, who is her boyfriend. Well, her boyfriend, the Ice Truck Killer, shows up later with flowers, and they both let each other know that they love each other. So at the very final scene, he's going off with her out of the police department. So we kind of feel like, there might be something coming up with them pretty soon that might put her life in danger. You kind of get that sense at the end of the episode. So that's kind of what we've got with the Ice Truck Killer in regards to Dexter and the actual Ice Truck Killer himself. Let's talk about Batista. Batista is kind of going through it. Well, he's not kind of going through a divorce. He is going through a divorce. And he's at a nightclub with Masuka, and he's got his ring on, takes it off. Somebody notices, that he had a ring on at one point, and they strike a conversation, and they go out onto the dance floor together. So Batista is dancing with this girl. While they are dancing, Batista looks over and sees this prosthetic hand with colored fingernails on it. So he kind of breaks away from the girl he's dancing with. She's not happy about that. And he goes over to this woman and kind of pulls her aside, shows that he's a police officer, and asks when she actually, what gave her the idea to paint her nails that way. Lets him know about a year prior to that, she actually had a relationship with a guy who was infatuated with prosthetics and kind of turned him on and, painted the nails that way. So he ends up going back and doing some research and visits actually the doctor, the Ice Truck Killer, looking for information on people who might have this fetish, other doctors, that could possibly have access to prosthetics like they do. And while he's there, the Ice Truck Killer kind of gets a sense that, they're closing in on him, maybe. And he pulls out this thing to possibly stab Batista. In the end, Batista lets him know he doesn't really have any clue as to what's going on. He's just trying to get some information. Leaves his card for the Ice Truck Killer. The Ice Truck Killer opens up a drawer. There's a bunch of fingernail polish in there, and he throws the card in there. And then later on, Batista is attacked in the parking lot of a car structure and is stabbed. It had to have been the Ice Truck Killer. And that's where the episode kind of leaves Batista bleeding out all over the ground, him, passing out, and, a couple Samaritans helping him out. So that's kind of what happened with the Ice Truck Killer. It kind of seems like things are getting close to, being tied up here, and everything's closing in for the finale. We've got 2 episodes left. Now, there was also a little bit with LaGuerta in this episode as well. LaGuerta actually ends up opening up the Ice Truck Killer case without consulting the commissioner. And her boss gets really upset. And she kind of pushes back and says she's done kind of being bullied, and she's going to run the department the way she wants to. So In addition to that, we had a little bit with Rita and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend, what I didn't mention in the last recap and review for the previous episode, is that Paul showed up and actually tried to assault her. And she ends up getting the kids and leaving and ends up hitting him with a baseball bat. Well, in this episode, she ends up having to go to court. He presses charges on her. So this is going to become a problem. And because in the previous episode, she had to break plans with the kids and with Paul to go to the circus so that she could go to the weekend with Dexter and go take care of his father's house. Well, those were scheduled visitations, and she kind of, nixed those. And because of that, the court is now looking at her as the issue, and this could go to trial, and she could end up being charged with a felony. So towards the end of the episode, Paul comes over to Rita's. Dexter's over there. They're getting ready for dinner. She has to leave the room. Rita leaves the room real quick, so Dexter and Paul are left in there. And Dexter has a moment and actually ends up knocking him unconscious and taking care of him and leading him off. You find out later, Dexter took him, shot him up with heroin, took his gun, had everything all laid out in his hotel room. So the police came by. They end up arresting him, and he's back in prison for the 3 strikes rule. So Dexter was able to take care of him, and he was proud of himself that he was able to take care of this problem without having to kill anybody. So that's kind of how this episode ends for, all these there were 4 storylines running through this episode, but that's kind of how this episode ended. So we're going to see where this goes in the final 2 episodes. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. I do appreciate everybody who's watching, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you will be notified when new videos go up. I do appreciate the support.